Hey, Liberty North, AP Psych, good morning. Welcome to Chapter 15, Personality. This is going to be a fun chapter. So excited to get it started with you guys. Also hate that we're not in class together for this unit, as it's just so much fun, and there's so many things that we can do. So first thing we're going to do, again, and if you go to Canvas and you go to assignments, you'll see that I've got Chapter 15 Personality on the assignment link for Canvas, okay? And one of the things that we're going to do that's kind of fun is we're going to take a personality test at the beginning of each session. So if we were in school, we'd be taking a personality test for each during each class period. So what I try to do is try to find, there's tons of personality tests out there, but it's just the ones that I've come across with my education and my training. Thought, well, wow, these are really pretty cool. So they're kind of hard to find. I think one of them, there's different versions on the internet. So if you go to Chapter 15 on Canvas and the assignments, you're going to see that your Chapter 15 lab is that you have 10 personality tests that you have to take, okay? And those have to be, I think I am giving you, we're going to do 7 from me. We're going to do the Myers-Briggs, and then Jada's going to present on the Enneagram, okay? And then you get to find one of your choosing. So if you miss the live streams, you can always go back and get the personality test. And I think you will enjoy all of them. And I'll try to kind of go over the results and things. So we're going to take one today. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, get out a sheet of paper and then label it your Chapter 15 lab. And this is going to be personality test number 1. And again, these are listed. Okay, Freudian free association test, number 1, okay? Then you need to number 1 to 6. You do not need to skip spaces, just number 1 to 6. And we're gonna have to practice, okay? So you have to access your unconscious mind. And for some of you, that's easier than others. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, that might be harder. I've already had some Dr. Pepper, so I'm good to go. But and I've done it before. So number 1 to 6, okay? And then this is not part of the test. This is practice, okay? So we're going to do a practice one so that you know what you're doing, and I'll do it with you. All right. So I'm going to give you a question or a category up into your head, okay? All right. And then the first answer that pops into your head related to the question is what you're going to write down. Okay. So this is practice. This is not number 1. Okay. So, your favorite food. Okay. Now, hopefully it's your favorite food, but you need to write down whatever food came into your mind. Okay. All right. So first thing that came into my mind, and I do not know why, is tacos. Okay. So that is not my favorite food. All right. But that is the first one that popped into my head. Okay, tacos. Now, this is the hard part. So once you have your answer, you have to then describe it in at least 3 personality traits. Okay, no physical descriptors, 3 personality traits. Okay, now some of them can blend. Okay, but I'm not going to put like hard shell or whatever. I'm going to try to use adjectives and personality. So I would do maybe spicy, trying to think of other personality, because that could be both. It can be a spicy person. Flavorful, kind of, could be both. Should have practiced this, but again, I have to do with whatever comes into my mind. Spicy, yeah, I'll go. Diverse, because it's that's another word for maybe flavorful. That would be more personality-wise. Fun. And I'll put flavorful on there just because it could be a personality trait. Okay. All right. So, what I do, but, stay away from the physical stuff. So don't physically describe the answer, describe it with adjectives and personalities. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So here we go. Number 1. So again, I will read the qualifier And hopefully, you know, you get the favorite, but if not, you got to write down the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay. And then we'll do the analysis afterwards. Okay. Number one, think of an animal. Okay. Write down the animal. First one that came to your mind. Okay. Then come up with, again, so don't put furry, you know, none of that stuff. It needs to be adjectives that assign personality traits. Okay. Okay. Give you a few minutes here. Okay. Number two, think of a color. Okay. First color that comes to your mind. And again, it can be as weird, unique, plain. It's just whatever color popped into your head first. Write it down. Okay. Now then you need to describe that color. Again, using adjectives, personality descriptors, personality traits. Okay. Again, the goal is to go for 3. If more, write more. The more actually you write down, the assessment will be at the end. Think of a body of water. Okay. Write down your body of water. First one that came to your mind. And it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to have a name. Like it could be a puddle or whatever. Okay. Now describe that body of water, not with physical descriptions, but more with personality traits. A flower. Okay. First flower or plant, really, that comes into your mind. I know it might, in fact, be a weed, but you know, whatever comes into your mind first, it could be some type of plant would be fine, but preferably a flower. But whatever popped into your mind, you write it down and then describe that. Okay. Again, using personality traits. And as many as you can, but try to get at least 3. Guys, with the guys, that's usually a hard one. Number 5, okay, natural disaster. Think of a natural disaster. Okay, write it down. Now describe that natural disaster using non-physical adjectives. Yes, Caden, this is number 1 on your lab. All right, and number 6, think of a school subject. Okay, first one that pops into your head, write it down, now describe it. I think you guys could easily do this probably. Okay, non-physical descriptors. That one's a little bit easier because it's kind of an abstract thing. It's hard to describe it physically. Okay, at least 3 traits. Yes, chapter 15 lab. Yeah, it's on Canvas and it's also listed in your list of assignments to complete for chapter 15. Okay. Okay. Shaden, I have no idea what that question means. Can it be psychology? Oh, yes, for your subject. Yes, I mean, whatever pops into your head. That's why it's hard. During this test, I can't really give you examples because I could be influencing your unconscious mind, which is where we're trying to access. So it has to be the first before the relevant answer actually popped into your head. So, but that's kind of the heart of this one. Is the difficulty in this one is that it's psychoanalytic. Okay, all right. Now, as we go over the, don't want to get, all right. So, but again, this is from your unconscious mind. So, again, before you kind of discredit anything, just make sure you kind of look at it as maybe I don't necessarily like it, but is it accurate? Okay. Right. So each question that I've asked you has an unconscious relevance or representation in your unconscious mind. So I've actually asked you to describe yourself and certain aspects of your personality, but I didn't do it consciously. So Freud believed that actually the true answers are in your unconscious mind, which is where we need to access by using free association. So, and there are tests like this online as well. And what Freud would basically do is just ask the same type of question over and over and over, and then hoping to get to your unconscious mind. Okay. All right. Yes, and I will take a picture of this and send it out via Twitter. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. The first one basically unconsciously represents how you see yourself. Okay. How you see yourself. And I actually encourage you to write these down so that you can give it to somebody else. This is probably the most popular replicated personality test that I give each year. It's just a lot of fun. And also, again, good science, give it to more people and see after a while if they think it's valid, if it's reliable, if the results are correct. Okay, so number one is actually how you see yourself. So how you describe the animal is actually personality traits that you're assessing to your own, okay, or ascribing to yourself. Number two is how you unconsciously view others see you, okay? So they might not be accurate, but they're how you feel other people see you. Other people see these personality traits in you, okay? Now, we will also get into analysis where generally those two are asked, because if there's a vast difference between those two, then there's an issue with self-concept and self-efficacy, which we'll talk about when we get to humanistic theory. Okay. Number three, the body of water is your view of your future, how you feel about your future. Okay. Okay, number four, don't throw anything at me, all right? But that is, actually the next two, don't throw anything at me. That is the unconscious view and belief of your love life currently, right now. Caden's struggling this morning. Yes, it's on Canvas, Caden. Well, it will be after I post this. Okay. Number five, all right, and I will explain this one. The natural disaster is how you unconsciously believe others view being in a relationship is like, okay? It also can represent your social life, right? So it unconsciously represents how others view being in a relationship with you is like, all right, and your social life. Now, again, I always get yelled at for this one. Natural disaster, how on earth could that not be negative? But some of you out there I know, and when I took it, you have words like powerful, mysterious, majestic. You might have fear, anxiety, terrifying, strong. Some of you will have that. Again, it's your unconscious, okay? And the last one is your school subject. That is your unconscious personality or attitude towards risk-taking, hobbies, and recreation. Okay, so this would be your attitude towards risk-taking type behavior, and then usually with your hobbies or in your pastimes. Okay, all right. So describe yourself. There's different aspects of your personality and of yourself, but we did it hopefully by accessing your unconscious mind, which is where Freud will get into, which is where psychoanalysis believed that our personality comes from. It doesn't come from our conscious mind. It comes from our unconscious mind. Okay. All right. So yeah, if you missed any parts, go back. you kind of know what you're doing now. So it kind of ruins it a little bit. But if you can really be honest with yourself, like obviously I know what the tests do and I could go back and take them. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go to, and actually we're going to be on learning target. Now don't forget your learning targets for chapter 15 are on Canvas, listed with all of them, but they're listed with chapter 12, motivation, and 13, emotion. Okay. And then 14, stress. And then you have 15 down at the bottom. Okay, so we're looking for this document on Canvas, right? Now, as we go through the different personality theories, we're going to do a number 2 and 3. Okay, so number 2 says identify the contributions of major researchers in personality theory. And then number 3 says compare and contrast. We're going to be on page 595 if you have your book, moving forward. And we're going to talk about psychoanalytic theory today, which is Sigmund Freud. Okay, all right. So first of all, on page 595, it gives you a psychological definition of personality. Now, one thing, our book, which is a very good definition, okay, except I think, and I believe, and some of you in your book, the word's going to be added. If we go by psychology now, we want a stable or enduring pattern of behavior, okay? Personality is very, very complex. It has a lot of environmental components to it. All right. So like I've talked about before, with intelligence, some of these topics that we've talked about, the nature nurture debate is really a debate. I mean, it is. Now we know personality is both nature and nurture, but the debate is which one of these actually has the bigger play, which one has the higher heritability, or is personality highly heritable, or is it not? And it's really hard. Yes, we believe you have some of your personality that is biological, it's inherited, it's genetic, but we also know that your personality is massively impacted by the environment. If I were to ask you the questions, does your personality change in any way, any level, based on your environment? Are you different at work? Are you different at home? Are you different with certain friends? The answer, honestly, to that is going to be yes. So we see the nurture impact, so really, does personality have a high heritability factor? Some people are going to say yes, and some people are going to say no. Now we know it's both, but which is the bigger player? So it's very complex. So what we want to do in describing in psychology and measuring your personality is we want to measure the stable and enduring traits that you have. Okay, that's the goal. And sometimes some people think it's unobtainable, but that's the goal. We want to present tests you're stable and it changes, but hopefully the stable and enduring pattern of behavior. Okay. All right. So then starting on page 596, there's some major personality theories that we're going to cover. Some of them are in your book, and then there's also a couple cognitive and behavioral that are not in the book that I think we need to cover and that we will do. Okay. So first one is psychoanalytic theory, and the name that you need to know, the researcher is Sigmund Freud. Okay. So again, Freud's concept of the unconscious around the 1900s, he was way ahead of the curve. Nobody believed, he believed he found the unconscious mind. He also believed it's the largest part of our thinking processes. Most of our stuff is in the unconscious mind. Now, modern technology, modern data, experimentation, imaging is showing that, a large part, almost probably most of our processing thinking during the day is unconscious in nature. So I think the more that we get into studying and understanding the brain, which again, it's a whole new frontier, we're kind of justifying and validating what Freud said. So again, we talked about the genius and the madness of Freud. Okay, this is genius. Okay, this is going to be examples of Freud's genius. Okay, because our unconscious mind does impact us. It does influence our thinking, and it does have a part in influencing our personality. Now, Freud believed our personality came from our unconscious mind, and the 590% of the iceberg is underneath the water, and that's your unconscious mind. Everything above the water is part of my preconscious and then my conscious, which is just a very small part of me or my thinking. Okay. So Freud believed that our unconscious mind was way down here. It was packed down here, which is the main influence on us. Okay. All right. Now, in that unconscious mind, we have 3 systems of our personality. And this is where you're going to get into the genius of Freud. You're all going to agree all right, that we have these three systems of our personality. Okay, and again, we're on page 596, and these are on 598. Okay, so 595 to 598. Actually, in all levels of our mind, we have three systems of our personality. Okay, now they reside at different levels of our consciousness, of our awareness. Okay, but they basically, these three interacting together give us our personality and give us our personality profile, if you will. Okay, now you have all heard of these, maybe just as different things. Okay, so let's just define them first, and then we'll show how they interact together. The id is my pleasure principle. Okay, it is locked into my unconscious. Okay, and according to Freud, it was full of bad motives, bad conflicts, sex, aggression. You know, it wasn't a very pretty picture. Okay, but it's called the pleasure principle because the id just wants satisfaction. It just wants gratification. It wants what it wants, and it wants it right now. Okay, now hopefully you can see the developmental implications as well. Does the id sound like what pretty much dominates an infant? And the answer is yes. And that's what Freud said, is that, you know, infants can only see the world from their eyes. Okay, they want what they want, and they want it now. You know, if they don't get it, they throw a fit. Okay, that's your id. Okay, and it's one of the first systems. It is the first system that develops, and it develops in that childhood. Okay, all right, and it is not concerned with social rules, norms, laws. It just wants gratification immediately. Okay, the second one that develops is our ego. Okay, which is our reality principle or our rational self. Okay, this one is a little bit more at the conscious level. Okay, because it's actually the reality of the situation. Okay, so they begin to think rationally. Okay, which comes after the id. Okay. And then the third one is my superego, which is my morality principle or my moral reasoning. Okay, which according to Freud kind of comes. I mean, these two, I think people argue about which order that they come in. You know, and depending on if you Piaget, Kohlberg, which we've looked at, and it's one of the last stages according to Piaget. It's in that formal operations. You know, you guys are learning, but they kind of overlap. You know, I think that if you go id first, I think everybody's going to agree with that. Then reality, you start to really start to think rationally, and you start to understand that, you know, there are other factors that I need to consider in my decisions. And then you start also understanding that, you know, moral reasoning is a higher reasoning, and there's hypothetical in that, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the superego is my morality principle. Now, a great example of this, which is on page 598, which you all know, is a situation in which you see a character or a picture, and one has the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other shoulder, right? Okay, that's a representation of the id, ego, superego. The devil is the id, the angel is the superego, and the person, the conscious person, is the ego. Okay, so as you can tell, my superego and my id are at war all the time. Okay, and what it's about is about maintaining balance amongst the three systems. Okay, everybody, according to, if you have them balanced, then you will have a healthy personality. If one of them gets out of control and it gives us the majority of our personality traits, we're going to have problems. Now, you might think that obviously it is simple. You know, if your id is out of control and you get most of your traits from your id, you're going to be like an immature person. You're going to be like that child early on. Okay, you are going to be impulsive. You're going to be fast acting. People who are very decisive that's your id. Okay, but most of the time it's full of bad things. And if your id was the strongest of your personality of the three systems, you would have problems functioning in society. Okay, Freud basically said you'd probably end up in prison. You know, you just would really struggle. So that's the big danger. If my ego was the strongest, I'm still going to have issues because the egos are going to be very rational. They're going to be void of emotion, void of caring. They'll lack empathy. Okay, so that would be I'm pious. I am self-righteous. Okay, you know, I'm judgmental of me and other people. You know, that's just, you don't want that. So you don't want any one of these three out of control, right? You want them balanced, okay? And the main job of the ego is to keep these two balanced and to keep them from becoming too powerful and out of control, okay? Now, so on page 598, I'll describe this picture and we'll kind of show how it works, and we'll give you an example from your own life, okay? Which, as you look now, you're going to be able to see examples of the id, ego, superego. And every interaction and every thought that I have, you can pull out the id, ego, and superego in your mind, okay? So the picture on 598 has a man at an ATM, okay? And he's trying to withdraw money. He has the devil and the angel. Okay, the devil is saying, "Man, let's just get money. Let's get money. Give me money. Give me money. I want money." The superego is saying, "Now, hold on. You know, maybe we don't need any money, but we don't need a lot of money. You know, we don't want to drain our bank account." Da 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 da. So the ego then steps in and tries to mediate between the two. What is a way in which the ego can actually get money for the id, but also be responsible and satisfy the superego? Well, he can withdraw, $20, or whatever he thinks that he's going to need, right? A rational amount, okay? And that's how it works. Sometimes we give into our id and we withdraw more money than we need, okay? Sometimes we give into our superego and we just say, nope, you know what? I don't need it, okay? Now, everybody think about when you wake up in the morning, what goes off? What wakes you up? Correct, your alarm clock, okay? Now, if you are a snoozer, raise your hand, meaning that you hit snooze multiple times, okay? All right, now, what system wins when you hit snooze? Okay? Can anybody pick it, identify it? Id, ego, or superego? A snooze is going to be the ego. Is that correct? Right? What's your id going to say when your alarm clock goes off in the morning? What does it want? It just wants sleep, right? It just wants sleep. So it doesn't care about anything else. I want sleep. Okay. The superego is like, you need to get out of bed. You need to be responsible. You need to get to school. You got to get ready. You can't be late. Okay. And so what is a way the ego can satisfy both? I can still give you sleep, but we can still be responsible, be on time. I can hit snooze. Okay. Now, if you continually hit snooze over and over and over and over, you're giving into your id, okay? Because you're just allowing it to get what it wants, which is sleep, okay? All right, now, same thing is, if you're walking by the store, you're walking through the mall, it says, take it, just get it. I want it, okay? Again, the id is not bound, it's not concerned with norms, laws, rules, or anything. If it was like, whoa, wait a minute, we might not need this. You definitely can't break a law, you can't just take it. All this kind of stuff. From the moral side of it, the angel side. And then this ego is like, okay, wait. Okay. We're going to have to pay for it, right? Well, maybe we don't need it. Maybe I need to go home and think about it for a little bit, okay? Which would be the ego giving into the superego at that moment, but still satisfying the id because, you could rationalize yourself. Look, I need to go back and think about it. And then if I think about it and I can afford it, then I'll come back. At least you don't buy it at that moment. Okay, but the purchasing of the item would be an ego, okay, not the id. The id would just be taken, okay? Now, just think about how many times in life or in interaction you have not said what you wanted to say, okay? All right, we all have those situations with people, okay? The id just wants you to say it. The id just wants it to come out of your mouth, okay, without even thinking. And sometimes that happens, okay? But other times, just even in that brief second, you have the interaction of the id, ego, and superego. And you can see them all three just being voiced inside your mind. I'm just going to tell them this because it's the truth. Superego, but well, wait a minute. Okay, we need to care about other people's feelings. Okay, we need to be nice. And then the ego is like, okay, we're going to say this instead. Okay, right now at this moment. Okay, all right now. So again, whichever one is stronger, we all have personality traits from all three, but whichever one is stronger, whichever one wins, whichever one gains more balance is actually where most of our personality traits come from, okay? Now, as you grow, according to Freud, as you grow, your personality does, in fact, because it changes, all right? Okay, as you grow up. So you should develop id first, ego, and then superego kind of come later, all right? Now, A great example of all of this is if you've seen the movie Toy Story, okay, the original movie. It is based primarily, actually the first two, but the first one is definitely it. It's based primarily on Freud's id, ego, and superego, okay? And it was a huge motivating force for the creation of the movie. Each character in that movie represents one of the three systems of personality and the development and the growth and the change over time, okay? And this might be an extra credit question, right? So now one of the greatest examples is which character best represents the id in that movie? Okay, he's the kid that blows up toys and gets kicked out of summer school. And what's his name? Sid, okay, which is basically, they used the id and just added an S on it. If you thought Sid was kind of a weird name, because he is the walking embodiment of an id. Okay, his id is out of control. It controls his personality. He has not developed these other two. They're not strong enough. So he, I mean, it's very Freudian in nature, and it's based on that id, ego, superego. Also, so is Cat in the Hat. So Cat in the Hat, the story is written as a representation of the id, ego, and superego, which we'll talk about, and that might be extra credit as well. I think I might throw those in there as videos. You can watch them. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna stop there. Let me answer some of these questions. This is a long one today. These are all basically people answering Caden. Okay, so question here. Is it possible for someone to develop id and superego without having an ego? No. So you have all three of these always. Now, the ego might be underdeveloped, okay? But if in society, your id is not always winning, okay? And the war isn't always winning. There's some mediation there. There's some rational, so we all have, parts that are impulsive, negative. We all have parts that are righteous and moral, and we all have parts of our mind that are rational in some capacity. So again, you have all three. It might appear that it's not as strong. Good question. Okay, the movie is Toy Story, the original one. Okay, well, let's go back to the example in the book about the man at the ATM. So do I need money? It's yes, you need money. Superego's no, I don't need money right now. Bank account's low. I need to kind of not take anything today and do without it, okay? And then the ego would probably be like, yeah, rationally, if we add up the numbers, this is the balance or whatever. And if you walk away from the ATM machine, superego has won, okay, without getting anything, all right? Same thing whenever that comment pops into your head that you want to blurt out to somebody, the id's just saying, just say it. Superego's like, no, you can't just say everything that comes to your mind. And then the ego is going to be like, yeah, rationally, that's probably not a good idea. Or if we say it, where there's going to be consequences for it, this is just reality, what's going to happen. And then if you don't say it, the superego is won. Okay. I think a lot of you have passed on something and just said, you know what, I really just don't need it right now. So I'm just not going to do it, whether it be buying something or whatever. And that would be your superego winning. So again, and in society, hopefully the superego does win more than the id. But just again, keep in mind that if it's winning all the time, then I get into becoming judgmental, self-righteous, and so on and so forth. So again, the idea is you're going to have all three, and all three need to be balanced and working together. Now, by far, these two being stronger is much better than the id, but they do also come with consequences or negative aspects of our personality. So now, at the very end, try to pick out your personality traits from each system, and we all have them. If you lack patience, which I do, I am not a very patient person. That's up here. That's part of my id system in my unconscious mind. Okay, so it could be as simple as that, but that's what Freud basically said. Okay, so basically our personality comes from these three systems in my mind, in different levels of my mind, mostly my unconscious mind, that are kind of warring, if you will, battling for dominance in my mind, and that they control my actions and my personality. Okay, and again, there's actually all the personality theories are found in Toy Story, the movie. It's a great personality theory movie because you can see all of them in there, but it does emphasize heavily Freud's psychoanalytic theory, the id, ego, and superego. Okay, so if you want to think about what is Woody, what is Buzz. Okay, I would argue, and I think most people, that Buzz is your superego, right? he's so into the righteous, the follow rules, the do good, that it kind of blinds him at time. And then Woody is your ego, right? He kind of maintains the balance. He does at times, again, and each one of them represent all three, but superego would definitely be stronger in Buzz, and the ego would be stronger in Woody. He's the leader. He's supposed to be rational, have the plan, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So there's a lot there in those theories. But again, if you want to see aspects, so go back to your lab now, real quickly, chapter 15 lab, and underneath number 1, okay, every time you take a test, I want you to answer 2 questions, and this is on Canvas. You're going to answer number 1, how did the test accurately describe your personality? How accurate do you think it is? Okay. Number 2 is, does it measure core traits, which we'll get into that later. Okay. And then just on number 1 only, I want you to write down just a personal example, just so you can think of it. I want you to write down a personal example of an id, ego, superego interaction that you have had, or that you have had recently. Okay. And it can be as simple, like the other day I drove by McDonald's and I didn't stop and get a McDonald's Coke. Okay. That's it. Definitely wants a McDonald's Coke. Okay. Or Dr. Pepper. Okay. Superego is like, you should be drinking caffeine all the time. It's not good for you, right? Okay, there's high sugar. Okay, you don't need one all the time. Well, we could go buy one. They're cheap, but at the same time, maybe why don't we just go drink something else today? Boom. Okay, I don't have to drink one. Again, this is your chapter 15 lab. So number 1 was the Freudian free association test that we did today, and at the end of each one, answer how accurate do you think it was. Does it measure core traits or surface traits, which we'll get to. You'll go back and answer. And then just on today's only, just give me an example of an id, ego, superego interaction that you have had, just to see that you can see how prevalent and examples of it. Okay? All right. Are there any questions? Man, we're at 40 minutes today. It's a long one. Any questions? Okay. So again, at the start of each day, moving through this week, we'll take a personality test at the beginning. That's the first thing we'll do. You'll add it this chapter 15 lab. You'll have 10 of these, and they are listed on Canvas. Okay. Also, the due date for all your chapter 15 stuff is listed. It's April 10th. So you have 2 weeks to complete it at any time. Everything's already listed on the chapter 15 assignments, except for the assessment, which actually I think is going to be the same thing as it was for chapter 4, because there's only 5 learning targets for chapter 15 personality, and 2 of them, 2 and 3, are basically the same, with contributions of key researchers, and then compare or contrast the different personality theories. Okay. All right. I don't know if I have a Star Wars thing for your log, so let's go find one, which isn't very hard in the basement. Oh yeah, AP. Here we go. Check it out. Our family's doing Mandalorian puzzle. Baby Yoda. There you go. 500 pieces. Having a great family time doing this. Okay. Hey, you guys have a good day. Enjoy the weather and the sun. And I will talk to you soon.